Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching Empyrion Galactic Survival episode 145. I'm Enigmius, and today we're continuing with the Heracles build. We're continuing on the port side of the ship, and we're starting the process of putting the inner and outer hull plates on the port side of the ship, which is basically the last major construction that we have left to do, in the sense that we've got a large section of the ship that's incomplete. But it's only this section that's left incomplete. We've got the hangars are roughed in. They're structurally 80% complete. We've got, of course, the starboard side is 80% complete, roughed in. Still waiting on the details. That's the remaining 20% of the entire process, is getting those extra details that kind of give the ship a little bit of character and a little visual interest, aside from just these big flat panels all over the place. One of the things that I've already decided, looking at what we've done on the starboard side of the ship, is that it's a bit of a departure from what I originally had in my mind for the design of the ship. So we're probably going to be doing some renovations to that side, just to kind of bring it a little bit more in line with what I had in mind, and just kind of unify the whole thing a little bit, so that the structural elements, that 80% complete, looks like what I wanted. And then when we go around and add the details, it's just gilding the lily. That will do as sort of like a before and after, very short segment where you can see very clearly the comparison between what we have right now, this specific moment, and then what we have when I'm done those specific changes. I think that'll be better than taking another 2 or 3 episodes to show you the changes that I've made to something that took 2 or 3 episodes to show you in the first place. We're working here on the front of the ship, and I've mentioned one of the things that I had in mind for this ship is giving myself the freedom to do an asymmetrical build whenever and wherever in the design process I felt like. The idea is that if all I do is ships that are the same on one side or the other, or, you know, too common, too regular, I think I'm losing an opportunity for that extra learning experience of making things work in an asymmetrical build. But when I came around to the front of the ship and I started looking at what I have already, and then what I might do with the other side that we're just starting on, I realized that it would probably be easier to start off by duplicating the starboard side fairly closely, if not exactly, and then coming back as part of the detail phase and modifying things so that it's clear that it's different on one side relative to the other. But I'll be, I think, in a better position to decide how I want to do that after we've kind of started off with the same. And the whole reason for that is when you're looking at the front of the ship, you see the whole front of the ship all at once. And if it just looks lopsided and wonky, it looks lopsided and wonky, and that's definitely not what I want. Lopsided and wonky aren't words that reflect the nature of the build we're trying to do. They're not necessarily insults, but they're also not exactly complimentary. They're kind of describing something that isn't what it's supposed to be, I guess would be one way of saying it. So we're going to end up with something that's very, very similar to what we've got on the other side for this front section. And then when we go down the side of the ship, all the way down the port side, that's probably where the differences will start to show up. And ironically, it's when we start incorporating all of these differences, and they're going to be mostly blocked off by the hangars, which can't win sometimes for trying. But with all the changes that I'm planning for the starboard side, and again having that liberty to kind of mix things up on the other side, as long as I can maintain that theme that I've got in my head and kind of stick to that and work with it, by the time we get all of the detailing done, I'm hopeful that the ship is going to end up looking as close as reasonably possible to what I had in mind from the beginning. So there's a certain amount of time and effort that goes into that. And one of the other things that I've given a lot of thought to is this layout of the interaction between the inner hull plates, the combat steel that's around the armored glass sections, and the outer hull plates. First of all, to make sure that everything is complete on the inside, because when it comes to the inner hull plates, when you're inside the ship, if you're you know, running around doing some gardening, doing some crafting, whatever you might be doing inside the ship, and you glance out of the armored glass, what you're going to see is these interior sections And if they're not finished and if they're not complete, they're going to look not finished and not complete. So part of the process that I've been working with, starting from the front and then gradually working our way back, is making sure that these things are finished on the inside as well as on the outside. And it's actually not that difficult, especially when you have a profile in mind and then you close off the outer edge of that profile. The outside looks closed off. If you're on the outside of the ship, you look at it, it looks like it's complete. The inside is basically going to tell you exactly what you need to add in order to finish it off and make it look as though it was deliberately done. It was completed on purpose, and everything that you would expect it to be is there. You can see here, it doesn't take very long at all. We're just basically looking at the layout and saying, okay, that will take a 45-degree slope, or this one will take the 22.5-degree paired slope, whatever it takes. It's not especially difficult or time-consuming to do, but it's important just because we know that we'll be able to see it from the inside of the ship, and we don't, after all of this time and effort, want to diminish the appearance of things because we decided to ignore something like that. The other thing that I wanted to be very, very careful about, and it's not really something that I can show, I don't think, is making sure that the exterior of the ship is completely sealed, so that if you're a bad guy, specifically thinking in terms of PvP, and someone in a spacesuit decides that they want to start moving around the exterior of the ship looking for a way in that's easy, there's a lot of easy ways in to the interior of the ship from the outside right now. That it's just because there are gigantic openings between the hull plates that you can waltz through, and there's no opposition whatsoever. There's no defenses in the form of turrets. There's no structural barriers preventing you from making that transition from the outside of the ship to the inside. If someone is going to get inside the ship and start pillaging or stealing or making a nuisance of themselves, I want to make sure that they have to earn it. I don't want to make it easy for them to just kind of wander in and start doing whatever they want to do without having to worry about any kind of opposition. So there's going to be a certain amount of thought that will go into confirming that the outside of the ship is sealed. And you may think that that's a no-brainer when designing the ships, especially when designing ships to be pressurized. But when we're building in this way, where we've got the interior of the ship, the whole armor glass section is sealed, and then we start building these plates around it, it's very easy to let the gaps sit and not do anything about them, because you're not worried about keeping things pressurized. You're not worried about maintaining oxygen in these various different interior compartments. So I'll go around and close all of those up as part of the process, and then by the time we get through the renovations on the starboard side, the closing of the outer hull so that it's not so easy to infiltrate, all that we'll have left excuse me, all that we'll have left structurally is that last section of the port side, just going all the way down, that's already laid out for the interior section with the profiles of the bulkheads that we put in place, and the outer plates that will be influenced but not dictated by what's happening on the other side when we make those adjustments. That we'll probably be able to show you next episode. I kind of have that feeling in mind that the next time that I load up the game, that's what I'm going to be doing, is making those adjustments on the starboard side, so that when we start working on the port side and putting things in place for the first time, we've already got some sort of indication as to how things should go together to carry the theme, if not the exact design, from one side to the other. So there's still a fair bit of work to be done. We're well over the halfway point now. We've probably got at most 3 or 4 more episodes working on the main structure, and then we'll have the detailing, texturing, and painting, and then we'll be done. Biggest ship I've made so far, biggest ship that we'll be making for a very long time, I think. I've already got ideas for the next builds, believe it or not. It's just the way my mind works. I can't help it. So we'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to see what this looks like when we start transferring the hull plates down along the profiles for the bulkheads that we have in place. The next episode, pick up where we left off. So if you want to be notified about the next episode and future episodes, the easiest way to do that is to subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.